Greetings, salutations. Welcome to the third. Ooh, this is the problem with recording on multiple days. I don't remember numbers across multiple days. Welcome to the next video in our 201 tutorial series. So what we're going to be going over today is Aggro. Specifically, taking your Aggro budget list and how can you look to improve that list. So what I've done is we did not have an Aggro budget list to begin with. So I went and grabbed the Band of Heroes starter deck. What this is the deck you get when you first start the game. You're guaranteed to have all of these cards. What we're going to do is we are going to take this deck, take our spreadsheet, which, I'm going to warn you guys, same thing I warned you last time, there's going to be math. But the math's all going to be in a spreadsheet, so it's fine. So, with that said, let's go ahead and start filling in the deck with cards that we're going to want. Because initially, this is not in a state that we want to play. I don't want to run Sunhold Medic, Scuttler, Watchman. Then we're going to just budget this list using only commons and uncommons. We're going to try to focus down red, so most yellow is going to get cut. We're going to keep Crushing Blow. It's a really solid card. Let me just go through and cut the non-reds first. Some non-reds will end up being put back in. Like, I'm pretty sure we're actually going to keep Golden Saint as one of those closers where it puts big bodies on the board that they need to deal with. Now let's strip out some of the 4-drops. Whoops. No, come back. I wanted that Mighty Ally. Oh, we can just put all 3 of them in. Yeah. So allies, you guys know them. They, as long as you're running, as long as the top card of your deck is the color of the ally, in this case red, you get a bonus. So they reward you for playing decks that tend toward a single color. Alright. There's our starting deck. We are keeping 14 of the cards. Well, less, because I cut those. Hello, cat. We might end up switching the camera over to cat cam. We'll see. So what we're looking at here is a dearth of 1-drops, 2-drops. Let's start looking at what we can put in. I really wish I could check multiple filters, common and rare, but alas, we cannot. So we're going to go through commons first. And I'm going to make sure that we don't pull from any of the Clockwork City, Dark Brotherhood promotionals, just so that we're not getting cards that you need to buy a set for, just keeping the truest idea of budget alive. So, let's grab Greystone Raptor, Circle Initiate. I'm just right-clicking so I can see that symbol in the bottom left. I am a fan of Fear Totem. Prowl Smuggler, very nice 2-drop. Alright, we can put him in. Stormcloak Vanguard gives us a bigger dude. We'll grab Battle Rage for a little more charge. A healthy amount of 2-drops. Once we get this all put together, we will then take a look at what we're seeing for our curve. And right now I'm debating whether or not Fighters Guild Berserker has a place in here. Right now we only have 6 actions, 1 item. So let's go back and grab Cloak and Dagger. I'm going to drop Scimitar. And that gives us additional cards that we could get. And I think we are going to run him. I have a premium, so we'll go over there and grab that. Lower Canton is fine. Oracle Gatekeeper. I'm going to run 2 Shield Breakers. I think that's all from the commons. Switch over to yellow. Not that I think there's a whole lot yellow common we're going to be grabbing. Nope. Move over to rares. We'll just do yellow while we're here. We could grab 5th Legion Trainer. We're not playing multiple creatures per turn, though. So I don't think we're going to grab 5th Legion. I might even cut... Well, we really do want a 1-drop. Do we? Do we really? We might. We might cut it. We might keep it. I am going to grab the other 2 Golden Saints. These are going to represent our closing creatures. If we can get one in... If we get ahead in health, which we should be able to, we play it, and then we get one in each lane. Which playing multiple creatures for 1 card is a good way to try to get around control. We're going to go back over to red. Madman's actually pretty good. But he is Isle of Madness, so we can't run him. Sorry, my dude. Let's see. Vigilante's good. Put in 1 more Triumphant Jarl. Just cementing our late game there. So let's now look at what rarity is Withered Hand. Epic? That's why. I was like, I would really like a Withered Hand Cultist. Mage Slayer also epic. Alright, so we need to figure out what our other options are here. We're running Prow Smuggler instead of 5th Legion Trainer. It's not going to trigger on everything, but it still does hand out daggers. We don't have any silence in the deck. And that's because the 2 easier silences are epic. So we'd be running Bone Bow. If we put 2 Bone Bows in, we're running a total of 7 items. Plus Prow Smuggler, plus Lower Canton Smith. Let's see what item synergy we can get. Rehad Horseman. Oops. Didn't realize I had that filter on. Rehad Battle Mage. Not bad. Alright. So we're really heavily loaded here on the short end. We do not have card draw. So we're probably actually going to want to fix that. There's not a whole lot of card draw in red either. Ayla's Huntmate could represent some aggro card draw. We do need to be able to aggro for it. Ash Berserker. We have a solid chance of having stuff that is above 5 attack, because a lot of our items add 2 attack. Canton gives +2. Rehad plus item is a 5 attack. Let's drop our 1-drop. Drop a single Fear Totem, just get it down to 2 of. Since it's more of a tech card for us. Tech card, what I'm meaning by that is a card that is good in some instances, but not really a proactive play. Cut Rehad down to 2 of. Golden Saint down to 2 of. Vanguard gives us other cards, so I'd rather not cut him. Oh, we didn't put in our third Orc clan. That's actually of import. No, it should be up here at the beginning, because it's Ayla's Hunt Mate. There we go. Grab all 3 of those. A 4-cost 3/3 that hopefully is a 4-cost 4/4 plus a card. Alright, so let's take this, and now let's start running it through our spreadsheet, just to give us a idea of what we're looking at. Deck composition, 6, 22, 22, 3, 0, 4. 0 ideal 1-drops. What 2-drops do we have that we don't? Woo! Oh, teehee. Turn this on. So I'd started just filling this in here. Our deck size is currently 54. Our prophecy count is currently at 11. And we're going to assume we don't have the ring. Hey. Two decimals. Alright. What 2-drops do we have that we don't want to play on curve? Fear Totem, Bone Bow. That's 4 we don't want to play, so we'll just 22 minus 4. 18. 3-drops. We don't want to play Lower Canton Smith on curve because it requires a plot. So we're going to put that into the ideal 4-drop slot. And then Shield Breaker we don't want to play on curve. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's going to be 17. Now with the plot, let me... Lower Canton Smith, ideally we're playing that on turn 4, partnering it with a Cloak and Dagger. But we could play it on turn 5, but it is an ideal turn 4 drop. Whoops, not 4. Those 3 are fine on 4. Those 3, so we're going to have 6 here. 5 drops, none. 6 drops, 4. Alright. So let's take a look at what this is telling us. We have, on curve, a high likelihood that we have 2 2-drops. Possibly 3, but most likely 2 2-drops. Once it comes around to turn 3, we likely have 2 3-drops. We're almost... We are very, very likely to have a 4-drop on curve. There are no 5-drops. 6-drops, we are likely to have one, but we'll see here that if we add one more, and we'll just fiddle with that here, that adds to an almost guaranteed we have one on curve, and we do want to have one on curve. So I think what we can do is we can cut some of our 3-drops here, lower this number down. 7's a wee bit low, given that we're trying to have multiple 3-drops. But turn 5 here, since we don't run any 5-drops, we want an extra 3-drop and an extra 2-drop in hand. So that 2 plus 3 equals 5, we're able to play them on curve. So let's go back over here. We have 4 cards we need to cut. We're going to cut those from our 3-drop slot. I like you, Rehad, but I think I'm going to cut you. And I think we're going to start dropping down to 2 ofs. So 2 of Battle Rage Orc. 2 of the Berserker. 2 of Morkel. in order to put in a... Again, card draw is still lacking, so I think we're going to put in a 1 of Triumphant Jarl. We've got 3 cards there that draws cards, 3 cards here that draws cards, 6 cards that draws cards. Let's update our number here. This has gone to 17. And our ideal 3 drops, we didn't cut any non-ideal cards. So that's going to go down to... let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we're still likely to have 1, and more than likely to have 2. But we've evened it out so that we're likely to have a 6-drop on curve now. Missing a 4-drop will be... that'll be balanced out by hopefully having multiple 2-drops. Turn 5 is going to be a 2-drop and a 3-drop and a 2-drop. Turn 6 we're going to reload. Turn 7 we should have the game won. Ideally we have it won by 6, but hey, if that fails, turn 7. We did lower our prophecies to 10. And our deck size to 50, which I actually did not update, so there's the updated numbers. We should get 1 prophecy from a rune, which will just help us if we're in a race. So let's go ahead and try this. So, you'll also notice right now, we're still a budget deck. Bear with me. We are going to move it beyond the budget stage, but what I want to do first is there's a step that you should take with your deck, and that step is losing with it on ladder. And if it doesn't lose on ladder, don't change it! Your budget deck's great. You only need to change it if it's losing. But so we're going to play on ladder here 1 or 2 games, because hopefully I'll lose in that time. And once we have lost, we're going to do a post-mortem and try to figure out why. So, hey, Street Hawk. He is Telvanni. I can hover here and it says Telvanni. We don't have the ring. Cloak and Dagger are pretty good openers for us, especially with the Fighters Guild Berserker. So we're going to go ahead and keep it. We've got 1-drops, 2-drops, and 3-drops in hand. And the on-combo 4-drop. So we have our ideal deck plan here.
What have we here?
We're going to be nice to him, because being nice is good. We're going to open Riyadh Horseman. It gives us an option on 3 of playing Orc Clan and Dagger or Cloak. Just beats the Firebolt. That's fine.
Shadow.
We'll just get our Berserker out. Surely he doesn't have all 3 of his Firebolts. Because of the spoon.
You'll die where you stand.
Just doing that. We get our 2 damage, and theoretically I'm trying to save this. So the first thing we're noticing here is a lack of burst. Did find a second Firebolt. That is quite lucky for him.
The Nords must take back Sky.
We've gotten our first rune break now, but it's turn 5 and we were hoping to be done next turn or the turn after.
I strike like the Morag tongues, swiftly and silently.
Unfortunately, he gets rid of our card draw. But we are going to get ahead in hell, so I think we're just going to Golden Saint here.
Sharp at weapons. Don't dare to wield them.
So we We did get our 6-drop on curve. The deck is working the way we had hoped. Ice Storm still only leaves this alive, plus then whatever he gets from Spy Master.
Move in shadow.
So this is a good example. We're running into what is our hard counter. Action-based. Just gets a 2-1. Roll Fire Blooms it? Yep.
The Nords must take back Skyrim. For Ulfric Stormcloak!
We're gonna keep going face. But we're running out of steam. What's he getting rid of? Probably the Golden Saints. Because they're gonna be difficult for him to control. No, he gets our other Bone Bow.
Careful there, friend.
I'm gonna do...
For Ulfric Stormcloak!
Let's see if we can't regenerate.
Toss some swords around. Trying to keep this alive versus the Ward Crafter. Also, he's got a beautiful premium.
I smell the stench of the living.
5-class Warcrafter. I saw you hover here. Please click that.
Face me, dog.
We're gonna Fear Totem that.
Sniveling coward!
I sharpen weapons. Don't get weird.
It's free for him to play, but it loses Ward.
Your blood will spill. I smell the stench of the living.
Sniveling coward! I ride like the wind.
Any item play is a good pickup for that. I'll note that despite the fact we run 6 card draw, we have seen exactly 0 of it.
Let's go then. My time is precious.
I will keep Sothasil's people alive.
And this is our last chance for Ayla's Hunt, mate. Doesn't matter when you win the game, though. So we ran into a hard counter. We ran him out of cards. And we beat his face in. But that does not illustrate our point. We're supposed to lose. Because it doesn't matter how close the victory is. If you win, it's a win. And it means your deck did what it's supposed to do. So we'll get it through one more game. If we win this other game, then we're just going to pretend we lost. Because I can't sit here and play games until we lose. Because we got to get to the second part of the video, which is upgrading the deck. And it's going to be looking at possibilities for upgrade. Based on what we're seeing. I picked up my cup to drink and then I didn't drink. Stay hydrated, it's good for you. Alright, Dominion. Got our 2-drop and a 3-drop. Well, sorry, that's a 4-drop. Let's see if we can find another 2-drop. I'm okay keeping Lower Canton. Not sure I'm okay with 2 of them. Actually, I'm most decidedly not okay with 2 of them. Actually, I should have thrown it away knowing I had Stormcloak for the 4. That was a... hadn't thought this deck through bad mulligan hand. If we find Cloak and Dagger, it's all things are forgiven, but if we don't... these guys are going to be really slow to get out. Thank you.
The Nords must take back Skyrim.
Sometimes things just work out.
For Ulfric Stormcloak! Killing you will make an excellent story.
So next turn we begin the shenanigans.
Well, let's see if we can find something useful.
Well, I'm going to trade with that, just to try to keep the board under control. The way we're going to do that is we are going to cloak.
By the first
Thumb.
forge.
Let's see if we can't reach
Stormcloak.
So my guess is he is burst. We need to get ahead on health so that we can make sure our Golden Saint triggers. So we're going to trade with that as well. Just keep the board clear. Here, I have a dagger.
For Ulfric Stormcloak. Meet your death.
Let's see if we can't reach in range. Don't care to wield them.
Swords, daggers, and cloaks. Oh my. Next turn, we're looking at a ringed out Golden Initiate, or sorry, Golden Saint.
Is my cloak.
Which should be enough to seal the game for us.
For Ulfric Stormcloak. You.
It's a prophecy. We only have a 2-drop on board. If it's Golden Initiate, we're going to have to crush and blow it so he doesn't get drained. Plus items.
If I fall, I sharpen weapons. Don't care to wield them.
So that keeps one of these guys alive. It also puts it here. Is that a prophecy? Yeah, so he does have a fair number of prophecies in this deck. But we only hit one on the ring break. So he has to answer, we know he has to answer every single creature here.
A fine battle. A fine battle.
I sharpen weapons. Don't care to wield them.
Easy win. So what we're going to do is we're going to pretend we lost against that first Telvanni list. So, what we ran into was an abundance of aggro. Or sorry, abundance of control via actions. Now if we... Actually, I'm not going to go into edit. We're going to copy this deck. That way I can post both this budget deck and our edited version live. So let's copy you. Wait, did I click new deck? I clicked new deck. Like a scrub. Buttons and I don't get along. You guys should know that by now. So, this was our deck to grand fame. Now, we never saw Prowl Smuggler. We never saw Mighty Ally, a Moracle. There's a bunch in here we never saw, an Ayless Huntmate. But that's fine. Because now we're looking to just aggro this up. So, let's go out here. And so what we're looking to do, let's go back into the language of the videos we've used before. We are looking for threats, answers. Oh, can I remember my own formula? Ooh. Threats, answers, contingencies is the last one. But there's one before that. Cycle. I got it. Now, we did run out of cards in both games. The second game, we played ourselves out to where we wanted to. The first game, we were, please top deck lethal. Okay, we top deck lethal, yay. And continuing to do that, hoping we found what we needed. So there is argument that more cycle could be included. There's also an argument that we need to specifically put in answers versus actions. Lower Canton Smith was an MVP. Berserker, though, he's real easy to remove. And sure, he's a potential 6 damage, but Lower Canton Smith passing out an item doesn't trigger him. Prowl Smuggler passing out an item does not trigger him. It is only if you play stuff from hand. We're probably going to end up cutting him. Now, I really don't want to sacrifice our Mighty Ally trigger. So we're going to try to keep what we add in red. But I think what is a very solid add, so what we're going to open ourselves up to is epics. We're going to add in Double Withered Hand Cultist. It's a 3-cost 3/4, which is not a terrible body. And as they do damage to him, he's only going to get more powerful. Fearless Northlander would be an interesting inclusion, given that if you try to multi-remove him, he just gets more powerful. But I don't think we're looking for that at the moment. Now for card draw, if we're looking to update, so we pulled out an item combo dude. We could pull out Bone Bow and sub in either... Our 4-drop slot's already kind of full. So we'd probably sub in a Halalu Sharpshooter to use the plot ability. It's one magicka less. Let's bring up our spreadsheet. So if I increase our... well, we haven't made any changes to our curve. If I pull out 2 2-drops and add in 2 4-drops, you'll see our 4-drop slot is starting to get full. Now, why is a big number in our 4-drop slot bad? Well, turn 5, our only 1-drop is our Cloak and Dagger. Oh, it says 6 there. That's not actually accurate. It's only 3. I mean, they duplicate, but it's only 3. I still haven't updated this to handle double cards. So let's actually fix that. Not that it changes anything, it just updates our deck composition. So 3, 1-drop. So 5, we're not really going to be playing a 4-drop. We could then play a 4-drop on 6, pairing it with a 2-drop, but we're likely to already have a 6-drop we want to play. And if we have that 6-drop, then we're not waiting to play another 4-drop until turn 7, where we're pairing it with a 3-drop. So adding more 4-drops really doesn't seem like the answer. Whereas if we add more 3-drops, well, again, that's a misnomer because that guy's not really a 3-drop. Because he's got plot. You're having to pair it with another card. But it is a 3-drop you're pairing with another card. So it won't up our ideal 3-drops. It'll go over here. 19. But what that means is on turn 5, we could then play a 2-drop, which we're likely to have a spare one of. And a 3-drop being our Halalu Sharpshooter. And then now we are looking at 2 ideal 5-drops. We have a 40% chance of having a 5-drop that we want to play. In this case, that specifically being 2 Halalu Sharpshooters. Not a lot we're actually gaining from unsummoning our own creatures can hit Golden Saint, Triumphant Jarl, Mighty Ally, Lower Canton Smith. There's reason to unsummon our own 2-drops. Not a whole lot, but there is some. I think we're going to keep that, and then just run 2 silences. And it's worth noting that Fear Totem ultimately is one of the reasons we won that first game. Although we could have Sharpshootered it if we had the ability. Which would have prevented the threat of Drain later. We did remove 2 items from Rihad Horseman. But I think that's fine. Every time we found a Rihad, we've had an item. Cloak and Dagger. So the reason... We're going to add one more pin here. The reason why we're running Cloak and Dagger instead of Scimitar... Let's drop our filter. Well, instead of Dagoth Dagger is I want the 1 extra health. and instead of both of them, scimitar and dagger, because I want extra items. I want 2 items for 1 card, because that is going to help us, well, it helped us with our expertise, but it helps us spread it across to who needs it. Like, we gave the the cloak to Greystone for the trade, and then ultimately we gave the dagger to what's-his-face, Stormcloak, to go face in the previous game we played. That ability to move the cards around is worth the 1 extra cost, and being able to use them on things like Rihad Horseman, or for plot trigger abilities, as we also ended up using them for, is extra useful. But anyway, so we're looking at epic, threats, answers, and otherwise shenanigans, known as cycle contingencies. Contingencies, I'm happy running 10 prophecies. That is enough for me to be happy. I don't think we need to try to turn this into a prophecy game. Because I think we're going to be more proactive, and I'd rather not have the guard for slipping in damage. That is why we're running Greystone over Green Pact. Mage Slayer is something we'd be wanting to tech in, because Telvanni can't get rid of it with an action. Tribunal can with their destroys, but not being able to be fire bolted, it's pretty good. Lightning bolted, just ignoring all of that. Honestly, it's almost enough for me to replace Circle Initiate. What we might end up doing is tacking down to 2 Circle Initiates, two Rihad Horsemen, and then adding in 2 Mage Slayers. It doesn't change the math, it just gives us more alternatives on what we can play. And neither one of those is absolutely key. They're both overstatted, but in some games, this will end up mattering more than the extra stats. We've put in our Withered Hands. We could run False Incarnate. I have talked to you about how our 4-drop, as an aggro deck, is already really full. So I'm not interested in adding more 4-drops. I am not interested in adding more 6-drops. Unless they give us an advantage that could not otherwise be found elsewhere. 5-drops I would be interested in. So let's actually just go peruse those and see if there's anything we see that is interesting. Blastbones could be fun. Markarth is actually a really good card and could be included. We're not running a wide enough board for Fervor to be worth it for us. Monastic Champion is a good solid 5-drop, so if we were wanting to, say, swap out Ayla's Huntmate, we could start filtering in some Monastic Champions. It throws off our ally percentage a little. But that could be acceptable to get a 5-cost 6/5 with Breakthrough summon a 3/3 on Pilfer. And with that 5 health, 4 is kind of the magic number for Control. Control likes putting out things that deal 4 damage or trade for 4. Because they'll have like 4 attack on a Spiteful Dremora. Not that anyone runs that card, and it's really good and it should be run more often. I digress. Things like Leaf Lurker have 4 attack. 5 attack means it often needs a 2-for-1 trade. That's good. In here, we're not crabs, so we don't want to run all Ultis out. Prize Chicken would make the tech too overpowered, so we're not going to include it, because we're trying to keep this realistic. Forsaken Champion is really nice in the fact that he's kind of limited fervor with a body. I enjoy Cheesemancer. We're not putting it in, but I enjoy it. So I don't really see a whole lot there, but now let's start looking legendaries. Let's say we've got just a little bit of money we can sink into crafting. What sort of legendaries are we looking to craft with our soul gems? So we're going to scroll through these and just kind of give an overview. You'll notice I only have 1 Relentless Raider. Relentless Raider's pretty good. It is it's good to sub in, and because we're now running extra plots, extra 1-cost cards are very good for this deck. I would encourage you to put Relentless Raider in here. Because we're still going to keep it like a mid-budget list or a slightly improved budget list, I'm not going to make any radical tweaks to it and put in Legendaries. We're just going to look at what options we would have. Relentless Raider. If you can get Dark Brotherhood, Garnag is glorious. Limiting your opponent's Magicka with a very powerful body with Breakthrough, it's really good. Blood Dragon is nice. It fits into that 5-drop slot we already have trouble with. It can bypass guard, so it can go straight phase regardless of if they put a Dark Seducer. And our solid item contingent can buff that to maybe deal 7, 9. Shenanigans going face. Reeve, he's not strictly bad. Because he is, assuming he can attack, deal 4 damage, or 2 damage, then 4 damage. I've gotten him up to 6 before he's died. But he wouldn't be wrong to include. I think there are better options, like Garnag, that you would want to include. Fighters Guild Elite, just don't put it in this deck. Stendar's Hammer, also just don't put it in this deck. Now, what gets interesting is we're not running a whole lot of Orcs now. But we could be running more Orcs. Like, we currently have 6, 7, 8. Actually, 8 would be enough for me to consider putting in a Wood Orc Headhunter into our 5-drop slot, getting a 5-attack charge. I said we're not interested in Titanborn, or in 6 drops. But Titanborn is great. She would be a wonderful addition. Sharp-Eyed Ashkan, I would probably replace one of our Triumphant Jarls with. It's good enough for me, and often we are out of cards by turn 6, so the plot is maybe on turn 8, play a card, play Sharp-Eyed, or on turn 7, play a single Cloak or Dagger, then play him. It would be worth it in my mind. You get 3 cards rather than 2, and if you're discarding, that's fine. Syl, also quite good. Being at turn 6 is kind of unfortunate, but 7/6 for 6, and Dementia doesn't go away. That is in the Isle of Madness expansion. Worth noting for Isle of Madness, you would also get the Deuter. Where's the Deuter? Deuter. The Unstable Madman, which is also really good in the deck because he keeps getting power and benefits from the various items we could put on him. Against decks that can't remove, like the Dominion we ran into in our second list, he's a win condition. He's that good. Alright, back over to Legendary. All of these others are up above where we are attempting to play. We should be done by the time we would be playing Aspect. So there's no reason to be playing Aspect. It's just going to end up being a card that we draw somewhere up here, and then it's going to screw up our math when it shows up. Adding higher cost cards will directly decrease the value of the deck. Yellow, we're trying to stay away from yellow because of Mighty Ally. Black Dragon could be put in. Halfinger, another good option, but by turn 5 we're supposed to be through most of the runes anyway. So you're maybe going to get 1 or 2 charges off of him. And then again, everything else is too big. Tyr, if you have crafted him, because you should have in the starting quest grabbed Orb of Vermina, because that saves the world versus this guy who says sacrifice me. I digress, moral lessons aside. Tyr, very solid in this list. Let's drop our filter so we can see some of the others. Rift Thane, core card. Epic, so you'd have to craft some, but really good 2-drop. Probably good enough that I would replace Rihad with it entirely. because it comes down with +2 already, so you're only losing +1 attack if you have an item equipped. And getting rid of that contingency, I think, is worth the +1. Also, if you fall behind, he becomes a guard, which can be helpful. I would not include Crusader's Assault in this list. I think this list is too fast for Crusader's Assault. And adding Crusader's Assault just gives your opponent one more turn where they're trying to close it out. It is not an ideal 3-drop, because that means you spend your turn 3 just drawing cards. If you're against an aggro opponent, you've just handed over initiative to them. It's of limited use versus control. In a fast aggro list, it does not have a place. In a more mid-range deck, so let's say you wanted to expand to 7s, 8s, and 9s, put it in. You're going to have a little bit more time before you're trying to end the game. It's going to fit in perfectly. Ulfric's Housecarl is better than Ayla's Huntmate. Whenever an enemy rune is destroyed, draw a card. We're usually breaking 2 runes on that turn, maybe 1. But 1 or 2 is only broken, so there's 3 potential card draw off of Ulfric's Housecarl for only 1 point of damage lost. That would be a straight replacement. Alright, let's filter back up to Legendaries. Cadwell wouldn't be the worst inclusion. So he's Moons of Elsewhere. Now, why am I saying he's not the worst inclusion? You get a 1-drop, which is good for comboing on turn 4. So you'll get your plot abilities off of it. Also, as you're breaking runes, you are giving him +1. So if you break 2 runes on turn 4, which is what we do most of the time, then he's a 2-1 for 1. He's basically a Dagoth Dagger that's just sitting on the board. Well, he doesn't have Breakthrough, but he's going to be able to do something. The 4-cost 3/5. Attacking yourself isn't ideal, but there are some situations where it could be useful if your opponent has a Dark Seducer in front of it, and you're just like, I have creatures over here, if I have one other card, maybe I can find lethal. So that's a very niche case. The 5 health is really what you want him for. That's going to allow him to survive most trades. But because it's a double card, it's 2 cards for 1. I approve. Shadowmare, not the worst card you could put in. The 1-drop has the same benefits of Cadwell, being able to trigger various plot abilities. And then when it dies, it just cycles then you have extra charge in your deck for later, a 4-cost 4/4 charge, which is kind of nice. If you're feeling gimmicky, you can put in Haskill. It's not going to be the best, but if you play him on turn 4, there is a high likelihood he's going to pick 0, 1, 2, or 3. Well, he's going to pick 0 through 5. You've got about a 50% chance of being able to get card draw off of him for what is a little bit better body than... Yeah, I've got filtered to Legendary. Than the Ulfric's Housecarl. Wabbajack, if you must. Barbas, not terrible. Can represent possible card draw, possible charge. And then everything else is too big for what our deck is trying to do. So, that is our review. I will have... we didn't finish our ++ editions, because I was going to swap out Ayla's Huntmate. What I think I will do is I will publish... Yeah, we're not going to publish this one, so I'm just going to go ahead and tap our X, close out of this. You guys have seen kind of what we're looking to do for upgrading and what our thought process is going through. The next couple videos, we are going to be looking at a mid-range list and then a control list so that you can kind of get something that fits your playstyle. And also, it's going to then help us segue into our tutorial on how you read opponents' decks. So keep in tune for that. That's all going to be coming out. This comes out on Friday, so next week. That's all going to be coming out Monday, Wednesday, Friday of next week, right here on our YouTube channel. I don't think I have anything else to say, so best of vibes to all of you. Take care, and I'll see you on the ladder.